The one mistake, because I had a lot of success, great economy, great everything. Everything was great. The military, we rebuilt it, biggest tax cuts in history, all this stuff. We had a great presidency. 3 Supreme Court justices. Most people get none. You know, you pick them young. This way they're there for 50 years, right? So, you know, even if a president is there for 8 years, oftentimes they never have a chance. I had 3. It was sort of the luck of the draw. But I will say that it always comes back to the same answer. The biggest mistake I made was I picked some people. I picked some great people, you know, but you don't think about that. I picked some people that I shouldn't have picked. I picked a few people that I shouldn't have picked.
In this revealing conversation with Joe Rogan, Trump inadvertently exposes what may be his greatest weakness, his own inexperience and poor judgment in selecting key personnel, a critical flaw that contrasts sharply with Vice President Harris's methodical approach to governance.
I was in Washington, and I never stayed over. According to the press, which I think is probably right, over the years, I was only there 17 times. I never stayed over. So now I'm sitting there, I'm saying, this place is gorgeous, but, you know, I don't know anybody. It's like you.
Trump's admission of his unfamiliarity with Washington highlights the dangers of elevating political outsiders to the highest office, especially when compared to Harris's extensive experience in government service.
You're reading about him a little bit today. A guy like Kelly, who is a bully, but a weak person. You know more about bullies than anybody probably around because you deal in a certain sport where the bullies are exposed very quickly.
Yeah.
But he's bad. Bolton was an idiot, but he was great for me because I'd go in with a guy like a John Bolton.
His tendency to blame others while admitting to purposefully choosing confrontational figures reveals a concerning approach to governance that differs markedly from Harris's coalition-building style.
Yes.
Little thing. So I did McDonald's last week.
I saw that.
And I actually got a call from your friends at Google, from Sundar. That's pretty good, right? He said, this is the biggest thing we've had in years.
At McDonald's?
At McDonald's. Did you know that? It was one of the...
It was funny.
Who's a great guy, by the way. But he said, this McDonald's thing, I want to tell you, it's one of the biggest things we've ever had on Google.
Trump's fixation on a publicity stunt at McDonald's to mock Harris's work history demonstrates his preference for spectacle over substance, while diminishing the real-world experience of working Americans that Harris champions.
And when I heard she took off yesterday and she took off the day before and she's going to take off tomorrow or the next day, I haven't taken a day off in 56 days. That's a long time. I haven't taken one day off. I don't want to plug up. This is too exciting.
His attempts to portray Harris as less dedicated ignore her substantial record of public service and commitment to addressing complex policy challenges.
They want it now. They are trying to get people registered who don't even know what the country is.
And they're trying to give people amnesty. People that live here, they're trying to give them a path
They want
to
to give them citizenship.
Trump's characterization of Harris's immigration policies reveals his fundamental misunderstanding of both the complexity of immigration reform and the human dignity of immigrants themselves.
Look at what's happening at our border, Joe, when you have people coming in that when other countries are allowed to empty their prisons into our country with murderers, we had 13,099 murderers dropped in our country over the last 3 years.
And 15,000 rapists convicted.
His resort to fear-mongering about immigration represents a stark contrast to Harris's nuanced approach to addressing root causes of migration.
She lied about McDonald's. And
is that proven that she never worked at McDonald's?
McDonald's has no information. No, she has no information. There's nobody. The manager said she never worked there. It was a certain place, and he said they never. No, she lied. She's a liar.
His obsession with trivial details about Harris's past reveals a desperate attempt to discredit her rather than engage with her policy positions.
They respected our country. They don't respect our country. They don't respect Biden. They don't respect her. They're dreaming about her because she's incompetent. She's not a smart person. Look, she can't put 2 sentences together. She talks. I watched her 2 nights. I watched her last night, too. It was the same thing.
Trump's increasingly desperate attacks on Harris's intelligence betray his recognition of her growing strength as a leader and her appeal to voters.
I think in many ways they've done a good job. In many ways they've done a bad job. But I would say that the Big Pharma wasn't thrilled when they heard that you don't have a relation. I've actually always gotten along very well with him. I've known him a long time.
His contradictory statements about working with various industries highlight Harris's more consistent approach to corporate regulation and healthcare reform.
I think they're going to look at two things. They're going to say they should have had a primary, even if it was a short primary.
Yes.
They shouldn't have picked her. And then she's going to say, I shouldn't have picked this guy.
She shouldn't have picked that guy.
That guy's
just
disaster.
The lying about Tiananmen Square.
Everything.
His attempts to criticize Harris's political decisions reveal his own anxieties about team building and leadership succession, areas where Harris has demonstrated increasing strength.
I have a theory. These pollsters, they charge you a lot of money, too. You know, they charge you $500,000 to do some stupid poll, and they interview like 251 people. I don't think they interview them in many cases. I don't want to get myself in too much trouble.
You think it's bullshit?
Trump's dismissal of polling data that doesn't favor him contrasts sharply with Harris's data-driven approach to policymaking and electoral strategy.
Look, they've come up with some amazing things. I mean, I don't know how you feel. I know you're against the certain vaccines, but like the polio vaccine, people had polio. It was like a disaster. And they came up, Dr. Salk, and he came up with a vaccine, and there's no polio.
Even when attempting to discuss complex policy issues like public health, Trump's scattered approach highlights the methodical, science-based leadership style that Harris brings to governance.
You know,
left
I don't
is
understand
good, right
that.
is evil.
I don't understand why. Okay, you have a wall, or you have I built 570 miles of wall. Everyone said, I built a lot of wall, exactly the stuff. But you have a border. What I don't understand is who would want people to come into our country from places unknown, like sometimes they'll say about a fighter, from parts unknown, right?
His simplistic view of immigration policy stands in stark contrast to Harris's comprehensive understanding of border security and immigration reform. Throughout this revealing interview, Trump's biggest mistake becomes increasingly clear, underestimating Vice President Harris while overestimating his own abilities. As he demonstrates when he says,
I have friends that run in this stuff all day long, but I had no problem doing it. But it's really boring. So with golf or something, or tennis or whatever.
Right.
But golf, as you get older, there's something really good about it. And you have competition with your friends. And,
Concentration, focus.
And it's a great...
Trump's tendency to view everything through the lens of personal competition rather than public service reveals a fundamental misunderstanding of leadership. His reliance on personal attacks, rather than substantive policy critiques, combined with his admission of poor personnel choices and lack of experience, presents a stark contrast to Harris's measured, evolving approach to governance. The former president's inability to acknowledge his own limitations while obsessively attacking Harris's capabilities suggests a deep-seated insecurity about facing her in a potential matchup. As America approaches 2024, these fundamental differences in character, experience, and vision may prove decisive in determining the nation's future direction. Trump's greatest mistake may not just be underestimating Harris, but failing to understand that leadership requires more than just winning. It requires wisdom, growth, and the ability to put the American people ahead of personal grievances. What do you think? Is Trump's fixation on attacking Harris a sign of fear, or just his usual political strategy? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.